Thank you. I'll be speaking about mobile today. I joined the company in 2020 as a senior developer. Currently, I'm a team lead in one of the mobile teams. And yeah, previously I've been doing iOS development for, I guess, quite a while. Also, a brief information about our mobile department. So we're more than 40 colleagues across 5 locations. Most of us are doing either iOS or Android native development, but we also have a few colleagues who are doing Flutter now. And so we have 2 product teams which are focused on working on the brokerage and the OTC versions of the platform. And next to those, we also have other teams who are focused on working for specific clients. And of course, we have the Flutter team. I want to share with you in a bit more detail what our mobile platform looks like. So we have, of course, this diagram. we have this diagram, which so this is a diagram of the entire platform. But luckily for you, I will not be going through all of these right now. So I want to going to focus just on this small part there, which is the mobile component. So what was the mobile component? Obviously, we have native iOS and Android implementations, and so they are separate components. And next to those, we also have a shared component, which is called DX Model. And so, as it turns out, it's actually it's a dependency for both the iOS and the Android parts. The way we do this for the iOS part is through code translation from Java to Objective-C. The mobile gateway is probably the other major part of the mobile platform. So obviously the apps need to communicate to the server. They process a lot of data, and so basically the mobile gateway is kind of a middle layer between the apps and the backend. And so interestingly, also DX Model is again a package that is included in the mobile gateway because it takes care of the API and some of the networking. The server part is written in Java, as Ivan previously mentioned, and the iOS and Android apps are mostly done in Swift and Kotlin. So the way we develop the apps, they're basically developed as a package or a framework. And the reason for that is that we want to have the ability to customize colors, designs, or features in some cases for different clients. The gateway part, as I mentioned, is basically a middle layer because it simplifies the the way that the apps work with all this data. And so the DX Model component, it contains API definitions. We have a strongly typed API. So basically the mobile apps receive objects. So they don't need to parse JSON or some other format. Basically they receive objects that they can further work with. It also helps us with versioning. Those of you who've designed an API for mobile clients know that devices that have an older version of the app might still want to connect to your, let's say, production environment. So then you run into this issue of backwards compatibility and maintaining different versions of your API. So Pipestone takes care of that, and this is a custom protocol that we have built, which works over TCP, but it also supports things such as TLS encryption and other features that you would find in a regular REST API over HTTP. The mobile apps also include a charting solution, and so here you can actually see it working. It's again a native solution, both for iOS and for Android. It can work with real-time data, so when the market is open, you can actually see the last candle on the chart change. It supports different types of charts, and there are also tools for technical analysis, which you can see here. You can use drawings, and those of you who've used TradingView might be familiar with some of them. Just to give you a kind of an overview of the technologies, we use basically every possible language for mobile, so we're not afraid of that. We use a lot RX Swift and RX Java, but recently also we started migrating to Kotlin coroutines for Android, and we're looking into using some of the more modern APIs that each platform provides, such as Jetpack components, and we're also looking into using Swift UI in the near future. The other tools you're probably familiar with or already used somewhere, so I'm not going to go through them, but yeah, I think you're familiar there. How did we get to the current state of this platform? So in 2020, we had this project Mercury, where we did a lot of technical improvements on what was kind of a legacy code base for mobile. Major parts of the apps were rewritten, and we've also added some functionality that's specific to OTC trading, because we had a client that needed support for CFD instruments. So that's when the current state of the platform began. In 2021, we started this Canadian brokerage project, for which we basically forked the Mercury code base. So we continued improving on it, and we started adding features for options trading, for different order types and more complex order groups. So this year, the code that we had created was forked by our brokerage team. And so they're also continuing to develop it in their own way. But in their case, it's to support their white label projects. These are typically smaller brokers who like to receive like a service kind of solution. So they don't want to do hosting themselves. Maybe they want to use a cloud service. But at the same time, they might want to have some design customizations, for example. So what are the challenges that we face working on this? I would say there's probably two types of challenges. I think the first one is just the requirement to work with real-time data and make the UI of these applications as responsive as possible and attractive to use. So when the markets are open, the app might receive updates several times per second. So this is a UI issue, of course, as well as it could be a performance issue in some cases. And so it's really interesting to find a solution and get a good performance for that. It also comes up when we do input validation, because imagine you're creating an order and you want to enter the price, but of course the market is active, so the price that you are trying to enter at the moment might suddenly become invalid in some way, or it's it's sometimes a challenge as well. So perhaps the other set of challenges is, I would say, related to the business requirements that we receive, because there's really a lot of depth in there. We need to deal with different kinds of trading instruments. We have stocks, ETFs, options, futures. Some projects have cryptocurrency instruments. Implementing all the business rules for those is also a challenge, as well as there are also rules for different order types, or the order groups that we have. And yeah, perhaps last but not least, in this project specifically, we have a requirement to be compliant with the accessibility guidelines by the World Wide Web Consortium. So this is adding, I would say, additional interesting moments on top. Finally, I want to say a few words about the project that I'm part of. Currently, it's probably the biggest project at Devexperts. We have more than 100 developers and QA people who are involved. So this number varies, a bit between the months, but I think it's still in that range. So we're basically rebuilding major features of the platform, and we're trying to modernize it. And we're still heavily in the development process. The expectation is to have the first go live next year. So this is, and again, this is not just work for development standpoint, it's a lot of work for our QA colleagues. So this project, as you can imagine, it spans the entire, so all the components of the platform that you saw in an earlier slide. We have teams for mobile as well as for backend, for web, and yeah, we're all working on this together. That's what I want to share with you.